Hello and welcome back to another video. A bit of a newsy one to put out sort of while we're over the international break, not a lot going on with City. Obviously we've just had the transfer deadline, so that's basically going to be a rumour. Sorry, no, we've just had the transfer deadline complete, so it's going to be a roundup of my thoughts, not a rumour of my thoughts. I don't need a rumour, I'll just tell you them. That's probably a better idea, isn't it? But obviously we've had 5 incomings at Ashton Gate this season, or this summer rather. Neto Borges and Radek Vitek joining on loan. Borges coming in Sunday night about 9 o'clock in the evening. He was officially announced. And Vitek coming in just a couple of weeks earlier, sort of at the very end of July. So maybe about a month earlier, I suppose, wasn't it? He was kind of packed. Watching the game at Home Park, the friendly against Plymouth, which we won 2-0. Obviously Emil Riis, another new signing, getting on the score sheet there. Adam Randall, Emil Riis and Joe Lumley all came in very, very early on. Which was good. It was a nice sign. We kind of got our key business done early. Adam Randall added into the midfield. You can say he wasn't signed as a Jason Knight replacement. Obviously he wasn't in the end, but he was probably signed to do that role as well should Jason Knight leave. And we've seen him come in and really, really take to the Championship once again. Obviously we've seen him over the last couple of seasons with Plymouth. I think playing at a higher quality side than Plymouth as well has really sort of enhanced his game in the last 2 games at least in the league against Derby and Saturday against Hull in that 4-2 win, which we'll probably come on to a little bit more when we talk about Emil Riis in a minute. He was really, really, really strong. Breaks up the play really well, plays a nice pass, basically does what Jason Knight does, but on Saturday arguably did it better than Jason Knight did, which is always interesting. Obviously Jason Knight been a key player now for us for 2 years, 2 full seasons. Obviously this is going into his 3rd season now of, I believe, what was initially a 4-year deal, so I think he's got kind of this season and next season left on his contract, so it'll be interesting to see where he stands come the end of the season, but that's a topic for 9 months time or so, rather than just now. Going out, we had obviously notable releases of Benarouz, Naki Wells and Cal Naismith. Wells and Naismith ended up going back to Luton for Naismith, who was on loan there last season, and then stayed there. Naki Wells joining them sort of at the back end of the summer, back end of July, just before the season started. Obviously I think did he play the ball that got the goal on the opening day of the season that ended up being an own goal at home to Wimbledon for them at Kenilworth Road? And Emil Benarouz doing all right in a Plymouth shirt. He sounds like he's been one of the bright sparks of a pretty drab start to the season for Argyle. So yeah, it's nice to see him getting football. It was a shame he got released. Obviously he's had all those injury issues over the last 3 years or so. I don't even know when was the last time we saw him play first team football for City. It was probably against Hull, I think, in that 5-0 win. Back in, what was it, the end of April 2022, when Andy Bowman got a hat-trick, and I think Martin and Semenyo maybe got the other 2, I can't quite remember, but he's always looked good. It's just a shame he's been hampered by those 2 ACL injuries, and then obviously a few other niggly ones, which just set him back and things like that, and it was really, really a big shame to see him go, but he's getting good first-team football now, which is all that matters really for his career. Hopefully he can get it back on track. The only fee we received this summer, off the top of my head anyway, was Marcus McGuane going to Huddersfield. It was rumoured to be around 800 grand. Both clubs didn't actually disclose the fee, but that was kind of what was being widely reported, I think, was around that sort of figure. So not a huge sale for City, which is probably the first summer for a wee while that we've had that that sort of quiet outgoing, really, for the most part, which is good. And then deadline day was busy in terms of a lot of the young lads stuck around because Struve wanted to use them a lot in pre-season, but then we did see Adam Murphy and Jamie Knight-LaBelle join Swindon Town on loan, and Sam Bell go to Wycombe on loan, but he is out of the contract at the end of the season. So leave your thoughts down below as to whether or not you think we're going to see him in a City shirt again. Personally, I'm not convinced, although I think if he does have a very good season out at Wycombe, I don't think there's an option to recall in January. So if he does a good season, I guess there's nothing to say we won't offer him a new deal, which I suppose we can still do while he's out on loan at Wycombe, but I think there's a pretty strong chance that that he'll never play in a City shirt again, which is a shame. A few injuries over the last couple of years. He had that obviously really good scoring run in the FA Cup under Nigel Pearson back in 2023, scored against Swansea, scored against West Brom in the 3rd and 4th rounds, and then obviously didn't score against Man City, but got us that far. Obviously that notable winner at the Liberty Stadium. I think he scored in the league there later on that year as well, alongside Mark Sykes in the 2-1 win that we had that afternoon. But yeah, a shame to see Sam Bell go. I'm not convinced we'll see him in a City shirt again. I kind of hope we do, because he's not really had game time in his preferred position, coming in off that left flank as very much as an inside forward. almost a bit like Anis Mehmeti, but maybe a bit more direct, I suppose, is kind of the role he'd choose to play, I think. Well, that's certainly where it looks like he's played his best football for us. Speaking of attacking players, we didn't end up getting another striker through the door other than Emil Riis, who we've spoken about. He finally seemed to really, really click and get his first competitive goals for City on Saturday, a brace in a 4-2 win over Hull. He had a great performance at Sheffield United opening day of the season. Charlton, it was a frustrating watch for all the attackers, I think, and for every fan as well in that 0-0. Derby, he looked good in the first half, but obviously had to go off for the second half, being replaced by Sinclair Armstrong with what looked to be a bit of a dodgy injury at the time, but luckily has not really turned into anything of note, which is good. Obviously, yeah, started. I think he did play the full 90 in the end on Saturday. I think he did, or he might have come off for Cornick and Mayulu, actually saying that. But either way, an excellent performance for him. Yeah, he did come off because he was on a hat-trick, and he got withdrawn with about 20 minutes or so left to play, I think. But it would have been nice to get another striker, because I think if he does pick up a notable injury, also we're left kind of first team options. You've got Cornick, Armstrong and Mayulu, and then Ephraim Yeboah as well. The four sort of striking options that you've got now. Sam Bell's gone out. It did sound like we were trying to sign Jacob Brown. I've heard that it did fall through, and it was probably a bit too late to pivot because that was on deadline day. But again, is that really who you want to be pinning your hopes on? A striker that hasn't played since March through injury issues and things like that, and he's never really been a massive goal scorer at Championship level. He's played in the Premier League for Luton briefly. But yeah, anyway, it didn't come through, which is a shame. He's not played for 6 months though, so is it really the sort of signing we want? Probably not, but it would have been better than no one, I suppose. Because yeah, if Riis gets injured, I think we do have a bit of a problem. Unless Mayulu or Armstrong come good. Armstrong, there was a point last season where he got himself into that, at the top of the pecking order, basically, in terms of the striking pecking order anyway, above Nahki Wells, and obviously Mayulu had gone out on loan by that point, and he was kind of putting in good performances consistently, but he's not scored for almost a year. Mayulu hasn't scored for over a year, although obviously he's had a lot less football. But Mayulu's looked good last couple of times he's come on, hit the post at Fulham, had a couple of like sort of chances to run at people a little bit more on Saturday, which was nice when he came on for a bit. But the positives, let's move on to that. The other negative, actually, before I move on, is Struber basically came out and said he wants a forward. So for the club to not then deliver on that isn't a great look. Perhaps we could have got someone in on loan. Obviously, I don't know all the ins and outs of the club. If you want to know more about that, listen to Robins on the Wire. Me and Dan Carter, who, as most of you will know, I suspect, is the Bristol Live journalist, and has been for just shy of a year now. So we do our podcast for Bristol Live once a week. It went out yesterday, giving our sort of hour-long thoughts, basically, on deadline day and the window as a whole, and sort of where we think the squad lies now. We had a brief sort of 20-minute chat about the whole game as well. So yeah, about 40 minutes on transfers. So go and listen to that. I'll leave it linked as the top link in the description. You can get it Spotify, YouTube, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts from. But let's move on to the positives. I think all the signings that we have made, Joe Lumley sort of included, I suppose. He kept a clean sheet against MK Dons, lost 2-0 at Fulham, but he wasn't at fault for either goal, so you can't really blame him. Have all settled in really, really well. Randall, Rees, Vitek all look excellent, don't they? They all look like really, really good upgrades, I'd say. Or certainly good additions. Maybe not upgrades. Rees and Vitek are upgrades. Randall, obviously a very different role to Max Bird, more of a Joe Williams sort of player. Well, more of a Jason Knight player than anything, to be fair. And seeing those two in midfield on Saturday, both at the top of their game, was excellent. And then also we saw Max Bird come on and kind of complete the trio in midfield and get his goal as well. What I've heard about Neto Borges, he looks good as well. Looks to be much more of an attacking fullback than he does a defensive one, which very much suits a Gerard Struber side. Overall, I think I'd probably give the window, I don't know, 7 out of 10? 7.5 out of 10? I think it would have been nice if we could have offloaded one of Cornick, Mayulu or Armstrong. Cornick probably being at the top of that list, as much as I love him, as much as a lot of City fans love him. We all saw how loud the chants were for him on Saturday when he got that sort of 10-15 minutes. But yeah, he's probably the one you would have wanted to move on the most. There were brief rumours in Armstrong, I think, Port Vale, Preston, with some interest. Apparently Leicester were interested in Fanny Mayulu, but nothing obviously came to fruition in the end. So this is the squad we've got till January now. Let's see where it can take us. 4 games in so far, 8 points. If you haven't seen the videos, the vlogs from those games, do go and check them out. They'll be linked up there. They'll be linked just on the channel. You can go and watch them. There's a playlist for this season. But yeah, that's it from me for now. Thank you very much for watching. I'm going to be back next weekend. I'm not going up to Sheffield United because I've got some things to do. Sheffield Wednesday. I've got some things to do on Saturday evening. But I'm going to go and watch Chipping Salisbury play. because I'm in Yate for the stuff I need to do, and obviously it's not too far away. So if you fancy watching that, it'll very much be a sort of what's the value of non-league football type video, how much can you get for your buck, or how much bang can you get for your buck rather. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Cheerio.
You stole my heart of gold after my silver soul. Can you dig in?